Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Solis, and with me, as always, is my very, very talented friend. She is the cat's meow in my book, the mixtress DC Gina. Purr.
Hi, Louise. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I mean, that's pretty cute. I like it.
You like it?
Good. I am here at Last Call in DC and in a bar that's not open, unfortunately, for a little longer. We're working on it.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
I know. It's just so sad to be in an abandoned bar. I feel like I have to come here and visit it, to keep the soul alive.
Yep, pour a little spirit out for the spirits that are in that building. Yeah.
And then open the spirits every now and again and drink some. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I want to go back to when we were kids. When I was a kid, we used to play this arcade game named Stargate. And it was like a horizontal landscape, and you flew this spaceship and you fired at enemies. And it was tons of fun, and I spent many of my father's quarters that I used to steal off the top of the dresser, because he would put them up there and he didn't think I could find them, but I did. I was a terrible child. But I want to talk today about another type of Stargate, and it's called Stargate Project, which was in 1991 code name for a secret U.S. Army unit that was established back in 1978, and crazy enough, not far from here at Fort Meade, Maryland, not far from you at all, by the Defense Intelligence Agency, easy for me to say, and it was to investigate the potential of psychic phenomena, and they were using in the military and domestic intelligent applications. Obviously need a shot. And the crazy thing is that they took 5 sister projects and really consolidated them into this one, and they all had their own unique code names. So it tells you how really invested we were as a government. And we're financing these projects. And obviously they thought something was going on. So what they really, Stargate Project primarily focused on remote viewing, which from my little research, which is the ability to physically see events, sites, or information from a great distance. Obviously this would be quite valuable for military and intelligence applications. So anyway, it was relatively a small unit of people. There are only like 15 to 20 people, but the program, as far as you can tell on the internet, what you can actually find, it ran for at least 17 years from what I understand. It was terminated and declassified in 1995. By the CIA once they reported that it was no longer useful. But in doing this research, I did end up on the CIA library, and I got some almost useless documents, just more like probably presentations that really didn't outline any of the outcomes of the experiment, kind of just outlined what they were what they were proposing to do in as the most vague terms possible. But yeah, and then I did find a few that were completely redacted. You can't see anything. It's just a bunch of black lines. So all that research probably just put me on the CIA watch list for not finding much of anything at all.
For our next guest, which is going to be
all about our next guest, exactly. So, which leads me to today's designated drinker. Thank you for the prompt. She does far more than just stare at goats, if everyone gets that movie reference. She is animal communicator Kat Ramey. Welcome to the show, Kat.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
A whole lot of nothing just to get to you.
No, that was good.
Well, the CIA didn't shed too much light on their actions. Imagine that. But
that's interesting.
So, Kat, tell us, what is an animal communicator?
Okay. So an animal communicator is a person who can speak to animals, and they don't necessarily have to be right in front of them. So they can, if you will, telepathically talk to them. You can feel what they're feeling, sometimes see what they're seeing, and hear what they're saying. It depends on your strengths as a person, which thing is more prevalent when you talk to them.
So interesting. So just so our listeners know, Kat did a session with my little Olivia, my little black 2-year-old lab, a couple of days ago. It was so interesting. Gina, I cried. Of course I did. I know. So doing the research for the intro, they, as late as like 2014, Harvard was doing a study, and University of Barcelona as well. I mean, these are like well-renowned universities doing research on telepathy, and they conducted a study. I know it was University of Barcelona, and they were students speaking to a university in India, and it was really complicated and came with a chart, and I was like, there's no way I can explain this, but basically they were able to study and prove that they were sending messages through telepathically with no view of each other whatsoever, and it had to do with the ones and zeros and they were doing to follow up from like using technology to show what they could do holistically. It was really interesting, very hard to understand and very hard to explain, but it was as late as 2014.
Well, I always explain to people, everybody can do it. If
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, if you say you're thinking about a friend, you've been thinking about them every once in a while for a couple days. You haven't talked to this friend maybe even in years, and all of a sudden your friend calls you. You're like, gosh, that's funny. I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
You basically sent your friend a message. That's funny because I was thinking about you too. You just didn't realize that you were doing it.
It's crazy. So how did you get interested in it?
I just got a whole bunch of chills, and I have to be honest, I need to know everything now. Go. I would like to do this immediately.
How I got into it was years ago. My grandmother lost her dog, and she lost it. I think she lost it on like the highway or something, and she had no idea where it was. And my aunt, she's a veterinarian in Pennsylvania, knew another animal communicator called Anita Curtis, and they contacted her, and Anita said, the dog is surrounded in blue. There's a white picket fence out front. The dog is safe. And sure enough, like a week or so later, my grandmother gets a phone call. A person had picked up my grandmother's dog, hadn't seen the tags, right? I think it was an older person, hadn't seen the tags, finally saw them, called her. When my grandmother came to pick up the dog, sure enough, there was a picket fence, walks in, and the room that the dog is in literally it's all blue.
Wow.
All blue. So when they told me this story, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to learn how to do this. So I contacted her, and she taught me how to do it. And that was, I think, about 15 years ago. And so I've been practicing a lot on my friends and family's animals. And just word of mouth kind of travels. People would call and ask me, to talk, and you get better the more you practice. So.
Random people call your brother and say, hey, one time you told me about your sister. We'd love to have her on a podcast about drinking.
Right.
First of all, that's the coolest thing ever. Like,
go ahead.
So how do you concentrate enough to do that? Like,
so you do have to clear your mind. So if you're one of those people that constantly has everything going through your head, you do have to learn how to calm that part of you. And once you do that, then you can start to hear the animals. And it's interesting, when I learned, and see, I have a background in musical theater and theater. And so my undergraduate degree is in voice, musical theater. So when I started talking to the animals, I hear mostly words. But another person that was learning at the same time that I was an art teacher, and all she saw were pictures. So she was trying to identify what the animals were saying through the pictures that she was seeing. It all really comes to you based on your strengths.
So it's funny. So Gina, when she was talking to Olivia, and I rewatched it again this morning and prep for the show. And I told Kat, Livy did this right away. So Olivia is a very licky dog. She likes this. She's nervous, so she kisses you a lot. A lot of kisses, a lot of kisses. And I was letting her kiss my hand while I was talking to Kat because I was sitting on the floor and Livy's right next to me and we're doing a Zoom. As soon as Kat stopped to speak to her, Olivia stopped. And I'm not lying. You can watch it. Janice was there. Her head just dropped and she calmed herself. And it was almost as if, like what you're doing right now. Like when someone says something to you and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what'd you say? And it was really, her physical reaction was exactly that. And it was amazing. So Olivia chose to speak to Kat. Do they have voices?
What? Yeah, what is Olivia?
Okay, so when I talk to them, I hear my own voice in my head, but depending on the dog's personality, you can really tell. So I talked to a guy who, it was an actor, he was more like a comedian. He talked to his cat, and I would laugh. I'm sure probably looked nuts. I would laugh at whatever the cat was saying because this cat, it spoke a lot like his owner, and it was just really spunky, and it totally different from my personality. So sometimes puppies, they're they've got a lot of energy, and it comes through that way. They might be talking fast, but it's my inner voice that I hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you think that go ahead, Gina.
No. Go ahead. You finish and then I'm going to ask my question. Go ahead.
I would say, do you think that when you hear them, is that you knowing the owner can sometimes influence the way you hear it? Like what your inner voice, because it's your inner voice kind of translating, right? And forgive me if I'm not saying that correctly, in that you hear, like you thought that cat was funny. Is it that the owner, knowing the owner, does that influence the way you hear them? Not what you're hearing, but how they sound.
I don't always know the owner, so
interesting.
Not necessarily.
Oh.
No, but I think it's funny that if I have known the owner, which the majority of the time I have, it's funny how animals will take off what they're around. Like so. I have a filthy mouth at home, and I had a cat that, oh wow,
you're hanging out with the right chicks.
He knew. He knew. Wow, he learned from me, I'm sure. So, there's a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, I have a cat at home, and I 100% think that cat curses. I think that sometimes he looks it up, and he's like, "Please fuck off," and I'm wondering. Now, does the cat actually say that? Because there are sometimes when he looks at me and I'm like, this cat fucking hates us. And then there's times where he'll come over and he's like, I guess you can pet me. And now I'm thinking maybe I do know what the cat's saying.
You might.
That's crazy.
It's funny is when I was talking to Kat for the first time, I asked her, I was like, are all cats just assholes?
Yeah.
I had a cat before. I've had cats in my lives, and I don't think they're terrible animals. But sometimes, when you cat to dog, cats
they're very
are a little bit of very much an asshole. So, do you ever speak to it just came to mind, which is very funny. We have raccoons. We have 2 little raccoons that are coming out. Have you ever a non-domesticated animal? Can you?
Yes. Now,
really?
I don't know. They don't have a name necessarily, so that's because I normally would need to know the name and know what the animal looks like. But if I'm right there and I see the animal, yes, I can typically talk to it. You always have to ask the animal if they want to talk. It's just like a person. There's some people that don't want to talk. Okay, never mind. But you ask, can we talk? And if they say yes, then you can go ahead. I'm a teacher during the school day, and I had a skunk. We are in a trailer, we call it that Outback, and we had a skunk living underneath our trailer. And I told my principal, I said, there's no way this skunk is going to leave if I tell it to go, because it's living in a mansion.
Yeah.
There's some things I can't get them to do, but yes, you can talk to, and but there's also kind of a rule if there are animals that are sort of communicating together, you're not really supposed to eavesdrop either. So there's rules.
That's so interesting.
Okay, hold on, Kat. Let's back up. So 100%, we just adopted a bunny, right?
Okay.
So now I own this cat and a bunny. Our friends couldn't keep their bunny anymore. It's a beautiful Angora bunny, and she is the sweetest thing ever, right? And we used to babysit her a few times in the year, and she was dropped off yesterday during a very horrific thunderstorm last night. And our cat, and we brought the bunnies inside, and the cat, it's 5:00 this morning, and everybody's running around and everything's going crazy. And I was just holding the bunny, and I was just like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I didn't know what else to do. And the cat is all over me, like, get that bunny out of your, like, in my mind, my spouse and I were having a monologue for them. But like, I almost want to know now, what do they say to each other? Because the cat didn't try to attack the bunny or anything. He wanted my attention. And this poor thing was, I mean, shaking. It was a very bad thunderstorm. And now I'm like, I have to get on the phone with you. Have to tell him this bunny's going to be okay. And also, is my cat from New York, and does he curse? Because I feel like he's from the mean streets of Brooklyn, and he's not kidding us.
Wonder where he gets that from.
I'm telling you,
we got my cat that had the filthy mouth in Detroit. So yeah, he was a city cat. He was definitely a city cat. He had that city attitude, and he was big.
That's
took my Sheltie on. I mean, he's hardcore. He was
wow.
Yeah.
We had a 22-pound ginger kitty, and he was a lot like your cat, Gina, other than he didn't really want your attention. He liked to be in the room with you. He had his own way. He just liked to be with you in the room. Wherever you were, he was. But he didn't want you to pet him or hold him. And every once in a great while, he'd jump in my lap. And I'd be like, oh, and I got to do it for like 2 minutes, and that was it. And he was done. But he was 22 pounds. Whatever he really wanted to do, he did. And he raised my golden retriever from the time she was this little puppy. And it was really cute. First, he had to be mean to her because he's going to establish the rules and just let them do their thing. And, but my money was, the dog's going to be 70 pounds, so you got to let him establish it early on. And sure enough, he ran that dog. They played, they wrestled. It was so cute. The dog would try to get as low as she could to try to be small enough. And he'd jump on her back, and he never scratched or hurt her. But my money was always on that cat. He loved that dog. It was really cute though. They wrestled and played, and cat always came out all mauled and wet, but never hurt. So it was cute.
Oh my God, Kat, it's so amazing. Tell us. Wait, I have another question. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. We both have so many questions for cat, is what it is.
So subconsciously, when you're giving dialogue to your animal, right? Is it because you understand your animal? In a weird subconscious way, when you're able to and every owner of an animal does it. You have a voice or this persona that you think that your animal has. Is that is that accurate, or people just put the persona onto the animal that they want them to have?
My husband and I do that whole thing, it's probably saying this, blah, 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 blah. And it's not, the animal isn't necessarily saying that, which I'm not sure they're thrilled that we do that, but we do that at our house all the time because it's funny, but I think the personas that we've put on the animal, our animals at least, aren't exactly how they really are when they talk to me. Because I have a Yorkshire Terrier that's really quite the bitch. She's a bitchy little snobby thing. And we talk about how she's in love with my husband. He's number one. I'm number two. Our son is number three. She would really rather not have, and we kind of make it into this thing that it really isn't. She does love my husband first. And she is kind of snobby, but when I talk to her, she doesn't speak that way necessarily.
I love this whole thing so much. I need to present. I should have brought my cat to work today. Okay, what's he saying? Because he'd be like this, please,
Since she read Livy, it was everything that she was saying again was, which made me mad because Jay, my trainer, is like, see, I told you. But it really was, it really spot on, and it spoke, it validated a lot of things. But I did think it was funny. I asked her what she thought of her sister, our other little yellow lab. She said, oh, she's fine. She's kind of a bitch. Mm-hmm. And she's my ooey gooey buttercup one who loves everybody and is sugar sweet and gives belly and doesn't pick a fight with anybody. And here's the one who wants to pick a fight with unknown dogs, calling the other one a bitch. I thought that was very funny.
Because she won't do what that one wants it to do, though. That's why. He wants her to do something, tells her to do something, and she's like, no. And then, of course, that's what makes that animal a bitch. You know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to be able to learn? I know, like you said, you get better with time, but just to get to the basics of an understanding. And is it different from every person? Is it your level of intuitiveness that allows you to?
I think if you're really able to clear your mind, you're able to start doing it. But we practiced the very first time I learned, the first day. What we would do is we'd practice on other people that were learning. And so first we would try and send, say, a picture of something and I'd say the word in my head and send it to that person and see if they picked up on it. And that's actually harder to do than talking to animals, because humans, we're kind of, all of us have this. It's kind of like before we had language, this is what we had. And we've just kind of put it on the back burner and forgotten how to do it over time. So it's just kind of re-accessing that. So then I remember later in the day during the workshop, and this is the first day I've ever learned how to do it, you know, I'm talking with another person. It's the first time they've learned. And they're talking to my animal. And I forgot what my animal's favorite food was, but I just asked anyway. I said, oh, what's his favorite food? And she said, cheese. And I went, oh, because the person I had gotten that dog from said, oh, he loves cheese. He loves cheese. And I had completely forgotten about that conversation until this person said it. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, there really is something here. Now, that lady had gotten a picture of cheese in her head. Like, that's what she saw. And so that she said cheese. So
yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, that was the first day and we were doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are there a lot of people that can do this then?
Yeah, I think the people that would have the hardest time doing it are people that just run all the time in their head, you know, really can't silence that, calm themselves down. You really have to learn to calm yourself, clear your channel, basically. So like a few days ago before I read your animal, I came in about an hour early and I really meditated, calmed myself down because I was nervous about doing it. And I knew I can't do that. I got to calm down in order to be able to do it. Of course, then once I've opened myself up, I could probably go home and I might be hearing animals where normally I would turn it off, sort of. But I'll probably be hearing them or easily communicating with them if I've opened that up early on in the day.
That's so early on.
Can I ask you a question? Do you go to a zoo and do this? Like, have you ever gone to a zoo to like hear what the other animals are doing?
Okay, so I live in Maine and I went to Great Animal Farm, and it's where they have animals that have been hurt and stuff, and they rehabilitate them, and some have to stay there. And they had cougars, and they were way in the back.
We have a lot of cougars here and where I live. Maybe a different kind now.
And I started talking to one of them, and yeah, it didn't like it. My husband goes, "Oh my gosh, did you see it? Did you see it? Look at us like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I was trying to get it to come over, and it didn't want to. And it was really, I mean, it was not happy that I tried. And that I've had personally that experience where when I have talked to some animals in person, they kind of freak out. Like I was at a friend in Northern Virginia area's house, and I guess her dog had never been talked to before. And I started trying to talk to it over in the corner, and that dog turned and was growling, and they had to take it out. Yeah, it was freaked out. It was freaked out that I was standing there and that I could communicate with it. It obviously had not been communicated with before.
Obviously.
So sometimes for me, and I know different communicators feel differently, but for me, sometimes it's better almost to do it from a distance, because then they're not as if they've never been right. If they've never been communicated with before, really, by a person, they tend to maybe like it a little bit better. But
do you find that animals who live solitary lives have you had that experience where, like, meeting a dog that obviously there's very few humans that can communicate to them, maybe communicate at them, but then maybe don't get a lot of exposure to other animals? Does that change it at all?
It might. I haven't really talked to any like that, but I could see how it might come out a little differently, just like a person. It's just like a person. If someone has been, abused or whatever, it's going to come out a little differently than, that it would probably, it all depends. You think of it, you think of how humans are. You've got humans that have experienced horrendous things and are okay. And then you have some that are horribly traumatized by whatever it is. It's the same thing with animals. So it really depends on, I talked to, my mother-in-law had 3 cats, and she had one cat that was nasty. It would give you cat scratch fever. If you touched it, it would bite you. It was just really scary. That was the most, when I talked to that animal, it was the nicest animal. It was the most talkative of all 3 of our animals. I thought that was so strange. I wouldn't have expected that. But that cat opened up more than the others. So you really never know.
Express why it was so mean then?
It had been with a family prior to my mother-in-law that a man had kicked it across the room, done some things like that. And so, it did not like to be touched. That's what it said. But when it was dying, it did not want to go to the vet. And that was one of the things. I felt so sorry for my mother-in-law. I was like, sorry, but your cat really, really wants to die at home. Really wants to die at home. And so she was able to do that, but it was really hard on my mother-in-law. I'm sure. But that's what's nice about this is you can communicate and find out what they want. Like if they want to try a little longer, if they want to do a certain thing, or if they are ready to go. And death is totally different for them than it is for humans.
Sure.
They remember it. I know that's going to go into like past lives and stuff, which is weird. I know, but
okay.
Yeah. Like reincarnation, things like that. Yeah. So a lot of animals, because they don't have as long of lives, they are, they're reincarnated. They know more about the afterlife, if you will. They're not nervous about dying. It's not like
I think it's a lot to do with what we're taught. Especially in Western religion, it could be, it's a space of unknown for one, or it could be a very negative experience. You might be going, right. I was not raised Catholic, but there's a lot of Catholicism in my family. And I do know the stories of, Dante's Inferno, and, you're going to hell if you're not good. And if you're maybe half good, you go to purgatory, like all those crazy things that causes us to fear the unknown. And it makes sense why we have these fears and these hangups. And the other things, when you lose an animal, for me, it's like cutting off my left arm, because it's loving something that, that's going to have 1/10 of your life expectancy if you're lucky. And it's hard. For me, it is anyway.
This knowing how to do this, though, has helped me so much. When I lived in Northern Virginia, we had a dog, and it must have had a brain tumor or something. It was circling, and it had had 8 seizures in 24 hours. Aww. I actually called the animal communicator, and she's like, Kat, have you asked him today what he wants? I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Cause I wasn't I didn't want to take my own word, like my own communication skills for this, because I knew I was really invested in this animal. Well, we took him to be put down, and my brother and my husband were emotional wrecks, bawling. And I am literally, while they're putting this dog down, it is saying, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you." And I'm like, oh. I mean, for me, it was a sense of relief, because I knew it was it was just so different an experience, because I can do this.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. Do all animals come back as the same animal again?
No.
But does an animal, so I believe in reincarnation, right? Mm-hmm. But like sometimes I feel like the human, you can't, can a spirit be a human in an animal at some point?
Yes. So Anita Curtis, the lady who taught me how to do this, her mother died, and she came back as one of Anita's horses.
I totally believe that.
See, my mother definitely would come back as a horse or a jackass.
Yeah,
I can say that.
My mom, the dog that I was just talking about that had the seizures came back, but it came back as another dog. Yeah.
I always have friends that when we talk about this, they're like, "Yeah, I want to come back as a dog, but I want to be Louise's dog."
Right?
I actually, the first dog that was mine as an adult, I got her when I was in college. Exactly what I needed, a dog in school. But she was a great dog. And I had her for about 12 years. And she traveled in different military bases with us. And when I lost her, it was that like just total breakdown. And I asked her to come back to me. As she was taking her last few breaths, I was like, "Please come back, please." I'm going to cry now. And that was 20 plus years ago. So, yeah.
You think you got her back?
I don't know. I don't think I have had her back. No, I don't think I have. I don't think I have. It is funny though. I find my dogs, like I told you this the other day, Kat, I feel like I've known Olivia before, but I don't think I've known Charlotte before. I love them both equally and they're amazing, but and then my dog Cam, my foster from Puerto Rico, he's been with me before. I mean, when he first met me, he's glued to me. I mean, glued to me. I could walk down the street with cats running past him and he would never, as long as he can see me, that's all that matters. And I've only had him for, I guess 2 years now, but I mean, he was old when he came to me, came to live with me. So.
Do you believe, and then this is another thing, do you believe that spirits, right? Spirits or spirited, like circle your life, like you have the same things in and out of your life of this? I think so. I think so, at least. I think you keep re-meeting the same spirits, whatever form they come in, over and over again, and you're attracted to people or things or so Kat, you have to know this about me. I have never owned a cat in my life. And Louise knows this story because it's so funny. I went to go to PetSmart to get my kids fish food. I never go to the little cage for adopt a pet. Never. And I walked over for some reason, and my husband couldn't even believe it. Walked over there, and he stuck in his little paw. And I said, "Neil, I met a cat." And he goes, "Excuse me?" like I walked into a bar, like I met this cat. And I was like, "We have to bring him home." And he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "You hate cats." I go, "I do, except this cat." And like, I can't explain that connect. I think I've been trying to find you forever to figure out why I have this, to explain the connection to this cat, but it was instant. And then, I'm telling you, he's a bit of a dick, but I cannot explain you have to meet my cat. I have to have that. I want to know what the cat says because I think I know this person or whatever about this cat.
So it leads me to a question, Kat. When we're going to have this episode going to be like 18 hours long. You know, when your animal, like in Gina's situation, can an animal identify if they, like, we second guess ourselves, right? Like, to your point, and a lot of the research that on this was, it's something it's innately in us, but because of all the other things that we've done, all the advances we as humans have made, we've lost, and they echoed your words, we've kind of lost connection to this. Can the animals know? Do they know that if they've been with you before? Have you ever had anyone say, "Oh, I've been with this. I've been following this jackass around for the last, century"?
Yeah, I think sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. So I had a cat. It was a similar experience to Gina. I went the one in Detroit, and I was like, "Oh my God, I have to have this cat," but it's taken. And then the person's like, "No, it's not." And you would have this. And I'm like, like he said, that would be taken off the front of the cage. And I'm like grabbing the thing really fast. I mean, I needed this cat. My husband's like, "Cat, there's like other cats around here." Nope, I gotta have this one. And that cat was like, "I was your brother in a past life." He knew. I'm not sure. I can't remember if Anita Curtis's mom, when her mom passed, she knew she was going to come back as a specific horse, but I don't know if that horse knew that she had been her mom. So I'm not sure it's always the case. Yeah, I haven't talked to animals that much about past lives and stuff. I haven't. But this whole me doing this has made me believe in reincarnation and stuff, because I do know that it happens. They come back as different things.
We need a drink.
I know, let's do it. Because I am so, like I said, this episode's going to be like, Janice is probably like, "Okay, girls, keep it going." But I really have like a billion questions.
Now I'm like part 7. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's the cat series.
So a little bird told us that you love a martini, a dirty martini, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely love martinis. They're my favorite.
Mine too.
So we're gonna all make our martini together, and we know that you pre-made your martini. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got all the ingredients.
Okay.
Right here in separate containers.
Which I love, which is perfect. I'm gonna scroll down my screen so everyone can see my little setup I have here.
Nice.
Good, right? Let me make sure. There we go. And I'll just do that, and we should be good to go now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So martini, right? We're gonna do dirty martini today, but martini classically is get your containers together, and you can shake. If you're going to do a dirty martini, I am not opposed to you shaking it. I am personally going to stir the drink, only because that is how I am used to drinking them. Now, this is the most important thing. If you're going to take the time to make a martini, you need to and you're at home and you're making a proper thing and you're not on the fly, I would take the time to chill a glass. So whether you put some ice in there now, you wait, have it chilled, ready to go. Because once we make this cocktail, you have a few minutes put in there before, and the gin, you're going to lose, even if you've shaken it, the flavor of gin, and it's going to go away, right? All right, so let's start. So I'm going to actually use foraged gin. And we're going to put 2 ounces of forage into this martini.
I have a gin question for you, Gina.
Go.
So if we're making a dirty martini, I brought up 2 because this is always confusing for people. I have a London dry gin, and then I have an American gin.
I use a London dry.
That's what I thought you would tell me.
American gins are very citrus, and when you're going to put salinity with it, you want to use something that's not citrus forward. So,
thank you.
So you have and I'm going to use Dolan Blanc on this one, and it's not Dolan Dry, it's Dolan Blanc. It is just a little drier. So I don't know if you guys just saw what I did. So my drink, what I put when I do dirty cocktails, I like to do a 2-to-1 ratio, but I do a little bit less. I do 2, and then I do like a little bit under 1. So maybe 0.95, because I'm going to add that last little bit with your with the brine. My brine that I'm using is really, 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 really pungent. So I'm only going to put in there about a half an ounce to 2 bar spoons. If you're using something from like a grocery store or not a grocery store, because this came from a grocery store. You're using something that's, not a Spanish olive and it might not be so briny, put a little bit more in there. But careful, because what will happen eventually is that you won't taste anything that's in your drink. And then you'll wind up you'll be drinking them way too fast because you're just getting the salinity and you no longer have the flavor profile of the cocktail.
So you said 2 bar spoonfuls.
Yeah.
About a proper. Okay. I might need a little more then.
And that's the equivalent of about a little less than a half an ounce. So we're gonna put our ice in. If you've ever followed any of my recipes online, everybody knows that I stir about 30 to 45 rotations, depending on how warm your environment is. Right now, my room is about 71 degrees, so I'm probably going to take this to 41. And you're just going to give it a stir or a shake. Kat, you could shake if you'd like. Is that what you brought to do?
I did, but I'm stirring.
All right. We're going to give this a nice stir. And when you're doing dirty, which I find to be really fun, is that you can put any kind of olive in here. So this is when you're like, I love blue cheese stuffed olives, put them in there. You're a mozzarella olive, great. You want just the olive, sounds like a plan. But one thing I find really, really lovely in doing the cocktail like this is that you could take the minute to put in here, like an herb. So I'm going to actually put in here a little bit of thyme. And I wanted to show you, when the glass is cold, I just take it and I wipe it in here. And you can leave it inside your drink if you like, or you can take it out, but you want to just basically use the oils. And we are going to strain this. And you have this really, still clear, it definitely smells, mine really smells very olivey. You can see like a little bit of the ester of the olive on top. And then I wanted to do mine just a little bit funny, just because I knew that this would make everybody laugh a bit. Mine is going to be more of like a deli. So I'm putting on there, on mine, it's going to be a charcuterie martini, and it's mozzarella with soppressata wrapped around it. So ridiculous, right? So almost to the point where I think it's so ridiculous, I'm going to remove this one and do that. Now
I have olives. Mine have almonds and then a pepper.
I love that. And then if you see this one, you can literally put anything you want inside of there. This is just mozzarella stuffed inside of an olive.
Oh wow!
You make a little slit and put whatever you'd like.
I have jalapenos.
Ooh, yum!
So we all do it our own way, right? But it's kind of fun. So you're like, you're offering, and when you already have the olive brine in there, it doesn't matter what you put after that, because you have so much olive in there. It's kind of amazing.
Well, I've never done thyme. I'll do that next time.
Ooh, this is such
Cheers.
a picture. Let's hold that up.
Okay.
So nice. I love your glass.
Yeah.
Thanks.
She's still drinking, even on the go, she does it in a proper glass. That's awesome.
That's how you truly know that somebody likes what they're drinking, because that's, first of all, it's perfect timing for a martini. So I realize on the show we're not supposed to say what time it is, but it is martini time. And I love, with 2020 being all of the terrible things that 2020 has been, the martini has made a nice resurgence. So I'm okay with that.
I think Kat's our kind of gal. If you think about it, we're talking about reincarnation, animals, drinking dirty martinis out of proper glasses, and we all have potty mouths.
I feel like we have to go to Maine. I don't even know. I'm gonna pack up my shitty cat, and we're gonna come to Maine, and be like, we're here. And then you're gonna tell me that this was my past husband in a different life or something. I have no idea why I love this cat so much. Whatever.
That is hilarious. All right, Gina, where are we going to send everyone to get how to make this dirty martini?
And how to find Kat. You're going to go to designateddrinker.show.
Wait, what?
I'm telepathically putting it out there. Designated drinker not show.
I think I heard you just say designated drinker show.
That's right. I was thinking it too.
So we're going to have all the tips, tricks, and how-tos on Gina's cocktails on this episode and all the other episodes that came before this. And definitely we will have links from the episode note in the episode notes, as well as on our website, how to find Kat, how to, cause she's only done this mostly for friends and family up till now, but she's starting going into a new space, maybe opening up her life to making this a little bit more of a business for her. So we want to make sure we support her in all of that she does. So we've got our support 100%.
I'm in. So. I love it. All right. So I have one last question.
But wait, I have one question before you go, because that's the one that, do pets tell you dirty secrets about their owners?
Oh, well, I mean, they might not know that it's a dirty secret. You know what I mean? And then just say it. I guess they could. Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm like, oh no, what did Libby tell her?
I mean, we've had, I know the lady that I learned from, somebody called her because that person's house was broken into and the animals saw it and they could describe who it was. Like there's so many things that can happen when you can talk to them. Yeah.
I'm signing up. Too much. Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay, now it's you, Gina. I'm sorry. I just had to know that.
I'm so distracted now. All right, I got it. So, Kat, in this day and age, everybody has a spirited animal they identify themselves with, and you might identify yourself with the lynx, and you're like, you're really like in tune, and you really, you're stealthy, and you got it, and you're living in the wild, and that's your thing, right? And you have really cute ears, and you're like, that's how I identify myself. If you can identify yourself as a spirit ingredient, what would it be and why? And it doesn't have to be alcoholic. What ingredient defines your spirit?
Oh my gosh. A spirit ingredient?
Yes.
It could be for cooking. It could be for cocktails.
Well, I happen to know what my spirit animal is, so I guess I'm going to say birdseed.
What's your spirit animal?
It's raven.
Love it. Birdseed? That's amazing.
Maybe like a seed or something.
What kind of seed?
Let's just go with a sunflower seed. I think that would be nice.
That's what I was thinking, because that's what I give my birds in my backyard in Maryland to get the ravens to come.
Really?
I'm not kidding. We give them robins and ravens and it's going around in my head, Orioles, all like sunflower seeds.
Yeah,
so we
they
put
do like
2 different kinds of feeders in my yard, and we have the big sunflowers, and like we spend so much money on sunflower seeds, but I love the larger birds. They're so pretty.
Well, even the chickadees, which are really small in Maine, that's the Maine state bird, they will take the sunflower seeds and they'll like go haul ass towards a tree and like slam it into the tree to open it up so that they can get it out. Just the tiniest little bird, and they're like, they're pretty hardcore.
It's amazing.
They're fearless, it sounds like.
I can't even. All right. I gotta think about this. All right, Louise.
Again, we need a whole series just with Kat.
I know.
All right, ladies. I know.
Cheers. Thank you for coming.
Cheers, thank you. And thank you so much for spending time with my little
Sure,
Olivia.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
The Designated Drinker Show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Missing Link is a proud partner of Hearing Charities of America, a nonprofit organization that supports those who are deaf or hard of hearing. To learn more about HCOA or to find out about Missing Link's other podcasts, head over to missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.